Hi, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleios. Welcome back to our enriching and exciting study of the book of Matthew. We're going verse by verse. We're in chapter 22. This is in the middle of Christ, or in the midst of Christ's final week before his death and glorious resurrection. Today, he's being tested by three questions given to him by the leaders of Israel. And so we start in verse 15. And the Pharisees, remember these are leaders, spiritual leaders, which also seem to have political power in conjunction with Rome in the area of Judea around Jerusalem at the time of Christ. They had added to the law of Moses their own laws and restrictions, the Talmud, which they also followed. And they used this to rule over the people. And of course, they were against Christ because he would upset their rule. They took counsel how they might entangle him in his talk. I think as we start verse 16, where it says, and they sent out unto him their disciples with the Herodians. So they were probably doing this with other groups, not probably the scribes and the Sadducees, maybe the Sanhedrin. We don't know, just a guess. The Herodians were the Jews aligned with Herod and his family. So they were Hellenistic and would naturally be opposed to the Pharisees, which were very pro-Mosaic law and their own Talmud, and not for Hellenization, which was secular. But in this case, the enemy of thy enemy is thy friend, and they were against Jesus. And the Herodians, the first question, Master, we know that you are true and teach us the way of God in truth. You don't care for any man, for you regard not the person of men. So he's set there, not sincere in these compliments, are setting him up. Tell us, therefore, what do you think? Is it lawful to give tribute, meaning tax, to Caesar or not? So the setup is this. If he goes, yes, then he's basically going to alienate the Jews with whom he's so popular at this time, because the Jews in Judea were being double taxed. So they were taxed by the temple and they had the Roman tax. If Christ said no, he's breaking the law and would subject himself to arrest. But Jesus perceived their wickedness. Why tempt me? And I would read this as test, you hypocrites. Otherwise they're appearing godly, but they're not godly. Show me to tribute money. And they brought him a penny. And he said to them, whose image and superscription? In verse 21, and they said to him, Caesar's. And he said to them, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And when they heard these words, they marveled at him and went their way. So he avoided temptation, and he just said what was true. Now, what is this parable telling us is that God's kingdom that was promised, of course, will involve both geographic and spiritual promises. But the Jews had rejected this, and so what is coming through the church, but not yet established, is the spiritual aspect of the kingdom through the Holy Spirit. The governments of the world, as prescribed by God, read 1 Timothy 2, 1 Peter 2, Romans 13, will be intact, though he has victory, God has victory over the principalities and authorities of the world. Think at the end of Ephesians 2 is a good example of this. So those things which belong to the worldly kingdoms, which we are to obey as believers in the church age, and of course, even the people in the gospel times to whom this was intended were to obey, because there was yet no physical kingdom of Christ. And the things that are God's, you give to gods. Makes sense, and there's no mixture between the two. Christians live in the spiritual realm, and we obey our God. And yet we live in the world. God has not taken us out of the world. And for good testimony, Christians obey the secular government. And it's true in the gospel times as well. Now, when Christ comes again, he will reign as king. And these two elements, the spiritual and the physical realms, will be one for his 1,000-year reign. Read in Revelation 20. Okay, good lesson. The Herodians were confounded. We'll go to the second question on the next video. Please join me then.